Humble beginnings in Hamilton. The early mornings in Hamilton, Ontario, were always quiet, cold, still, and honest. On most days, you could hear little more than the wind brushing past the chain-link fences and the tires of early commuters humming on wet asphalt. But on the corner of a modest neighborhood street, there was a sound that didn't quite belong, the rhythmic bounce of a basketball against a cracked driveway, steady like a heartbeat. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander was 13 then, long-limbed, soft-spoken, and always the first to rise. Before the sun, before school, before anyone even noticed. He didn't need an audience. The game was his mirror, and the ball his confidant. Alone beneath the street lamp's amber glow, he practiced moves he'd watched on grainy YouTube clips the night before. A hesitant crossover. A jab step. A pull-up jumper, smoother than it should have been for a boy that thin. His mother, Charmaine, watched from the window, a quiet pride softening her face. A former track star, she knew the shape of discipline. But even she wondered where her son's fire came from. He wasn't loud like other boys. He didn't chase attention. He chased rhythm, precision, control. There was no show in his game, just a growing hunger that neither snowfall nor fatigue could dim. At school, Shai rarely spoke unless spoken to. Teachers called him polite. Teammates called him reserved. Scouts didn't call him at all. "You're good," one coach had said after a tournament in Toronto, "but you're not fast enough. Not strong enough." Shai only nodded. He didn't argue. He remembered. That became the pattern. Rejection followed by silence, silence followed by work. There were no viral clips, no fanfare. Just long hours, aching legs, and a whisper in the back of his mind that said, "Keep going." Basketball wasn't just a game. It was an escape, a blueprint, a voice for someone who'd rather let his actions speak. In his small room, posters of NBA stars lined the walls. Not the loud ones. The cerebral ones. Kobe. Ginobili. Kyrie. Players who made the game look like art. One night, after a local game where he scored 22 quietly and efficiently, Shai sat on his bed, unlacing his sneakers. His cousin Nikhil, already gaining buzz in basketball circles, leaned in from the doorway. "You really want to do this?" he asked. Shai looked up, sweat still glistening on his brow. More than anything. There was no doubt in his voice, only certainty, stillness, like he was already halfway there. Outside, the street lamp flickered. Inside, a fire was building. The leap of faith. It was a rainy August morning when Shai stood at Toronto Pearson International Airport, a single duffel slung over his shoulder and a silence in his chest that neither excitement nor fear could quite fill. Beside him, his mother adjusted his collar for the third time. Her hands were steady, but her eyes weren't. This wasn't just a goodbye, it was a gamble. He was heading to Hamilton Heights Christian Academy in Chattanooga, Tennessee, a small private school with a reputation for shaping talent. In Canada, Shai was unnoticed. In the States, he'd be unknown. When the plane lifted off, so did the weight of familiarity. He was leaving behind everything he knew, home-cooked meals, pickup games with Nikhil, the rhythm of his quiet city, and stepping into a world that didn't care who he was or how much he'd sacrificed to be there. Tennessee was warmer, louder, and faster. His Canadian accent stood out. His calm demeanor felt alien in a locker room full of chest-thumping bravado. Coaches pushed harder. Expectations soared higher. And for the first time, Shai wasn't just playing basketball, he was surviving it. At practice, the intensity was suffocating. Coaches barked commands. Teammates fought for attention. Mistakes were punished with sprints. There were no second chances, only hard eyes and stopwatches. Shai often stayed late, shooting free throws alone under buzzing gym lights. His body ached, but his resolve held. Nights were the worst. The dorm was cold, the silence unfamiliar. He called home less than he wanted to. Not because he didn't miss it, but because he couldn't bear to sound weak. In a notebook he kept hidden under his mattress, he wrote, "They still don't see me. But I'm not leaving. I'll make them see." The turning point came during a winter showcase game. The bleachers were lined with scouts, none of whom had circled his name. The game was tight, tense. Players forced shots. Tempers flared. But Shai played like time moved slower for him. He didn't shout or celebrate. He dissected, slipped through defenders, hit mid-range floaters with surgical calm. By the final buzzer, he had 28 points, 7 assists, and not a single turnover. Afterward, a Kentucky assistant coach approached. "You always play like that?" he asked. Shai shrugged. "Only when I'm awake." The offer came 2 weeks later. University of Kentucky. The program every young baller dreamed of. A place with 5-star recruits, NBA-bound phenoms, and now, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, the quiet kid from Hamilton with something to prove. That night, he stood alone outside the gym, staring up at the southern stars. For the first time in months, he allowed a small smile. He wasn't there yet, but the world had finally started to look his way. Becoming a silent star emerges. At Kentucky, everything moved at breakneck speed: practices, media, pressure. 5-star recruits swaggered through the halls, praised before they ever touched the court. Shai arrived quietly, a low-ranked freshman with an even lower profile. He was expected to fill gaps, not headlines. But Shai didn't come to chase cameras. He came to study the game like a language, to master it syllable by syllable. While others measured their worth in minutes and stats, he focused on nuance, angles, footwork, timing. Each practice became a silent war with himself, each drill a chance to refine. Early in the season, he came off the bench. Few noticed him. Coaches did. They watched how he controlled pace, how he never rushed, how the ball seemed safe in his hands no matter the chaos. Then came the injury. An upperclassman guard went down just before a crucial stretch of games. The vacancy was sudden. The spotlight, unwanted. But Shai stepped in without hesitation. In his first start, he didn't just fill the role, he redefined it. He ran the offense with poise rare for a freshman. He didn't force shots. He waited, dissected, and when defenders blinked, he punished. By mid-season, whispers in the coaching staff turned into certainty: he's the best guard we've got. March Madness arrived, and Shai rose with it. In game after game, he played with surgical precision, leading Kentucky deeper than expected. He averaged 16 points, 5 assists, and nearly 2 steals per game during the tournament. No theatrics. Just cold execution. Draft night arrived under stormy New York skies. Cameras panned across faces, waiting for emotion, for theatrics. Shai sat with his family, calm, expression unreadable. When the Charlotte Hornets called his name at 11th overall, there was a moment of stunned stillness. Then, seconds later, he was traded. To the Clippers. A team in flux. A roster without stars. A city that rarely waited for anyone to prove themselves. Shai embraced it. In Los Angeles, surrounded by veterans and skepticism, he played like he belonged. Teammates marveled at his maturity. Coaches trusted him in crunch time. By season's end, he had earned a starting role, averaging double digits and guarding elite players without flinching. He never shouted. Never demanded. He let his game speak in complete sentences. Chris Paul, who trained with him that summer, later remarked, "He just gets it. Quiet, smart, scary good." Shai had arrived. No banners, no bold declarations. Just an unshakable presence, like a storm gathering at sea. Thunder in the quiet. The trade came like thunder, sudden, loud, and unexpected. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, the promising rookie, was sent to Oklahoma City as part of a blockbuster deal for Paul George. Headlines fixated on Kawhi Leonard and the Clippers. Shai's name was an afterthought, buried beneath the weight of bigger stars and louder narratives. But he didn't flinch. He packed his bags, boarded the plane, and landed in a city known more for grit than glamour. Oklahoma City wasn't glamorous. It was blue-collar, honest. The kind of place that doesn't hand out praise easily, but rewards the ones who earn it. Shai did just that. In his first season with the Thunder, he averaged nearly 20 points per game. His game evolved. His dribble got sharper, his mid-range deadlier, and his confidence unshakable. Playing alongside Chris Paul and Danilo Gallinari, he listened more than he spoke. But when the playoffs came, it was Shai who often carried the scoring load, hitting shots with the kind of calm that made fans believe in something again. Then the rebuild came. Veterans left. Expectations plummeted. Analysts